Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today, this Thursday. My name is Greg. I'm the Interim Program Coordinator at the Georgia 4-H at Camp Jekyll facility here on Jekyll Island. Today I'd love to take you around the island and talk to you about some of the really important animals, just like this baby alligator right here, and their role in the environment, specifically about a keystone species. You may have heard of this before. Let's take a look over here. A keystone species is something that is incredibly important. They have a tremendous role in their ecosystem. So important, in fact, that if that animal were to disappear, their entire ecosystem could be in danger. Some other species could even go extinct. And a keystone in particular is a part of an archway. So right here I was able to draw out an arch, which is the black squares. But if you can imagine, if you were to take out this very top stone, that is the keystone. What would happen to the rest of that arch? It would collapse. So oftentimes this ecosystem works in a balance, and if that one animal at the very top is endangered or disappears, it can affect the entire rest of the ecosystem that depends on it. And that's how the alligators work as well. Although this one is very, very small, it's just a baby about 6 months old, when they grow up, mother alligators in particular are wonderful mothers, and they protect their babies. They can even go as far as to build and construct a pond just for their babies. So when the areas around them, like this pond behind me, starts to dry up, that pond will keep some water in it and attract fish and other animals that tend to live there. That guarantees some food for their babies and the mother itself, but also can guarantee a place for other animals like the fish, the turtles, and the birds to live their life as well, until the rains come back and the lake and pond can fill back up with water. We're going to move on now to another part of the island and learn a little bit more about how keystone species can affect a barrier island. So welcome to our next area here. We're at the northern tip of Jekyll Island called Clam Creek. And behind us you can see our public pier. And here at the area, looking around, you see these big clumps of what look like rock everywhere. But these are in fact animals. These are oysters. Inside each one of these shells is a living organism. And they are also a keystone species because of how they live and grow. One of these animals will grow on a shell of another one that has passed away, and they will continue to do this for years and years and years, and they can literally build an entire ecosystem simply from growing on the shells of previous oysters. Now, what that means is that they can help develop a shoreline. They can protect it. It can act like a barrier to an island if there's a big wave or a storm or something like that. It can protect everything else behind it. But that's not all. They can also provide homes for many, many other plants and animals that live along the shore of an island such as Jekyll. Oysters you might be familiar with because they're also a common food item. They're commonly eaten by not only people, but also by different kinds of fish, birds, crabs, other invertebrates, even sea turtles. So again, these single animals, if they were to disappear, this entire ecosystem would drastically change. And that has happened before, but we're trying our best to make sure that these animals stay healthy. All right, y'all, let's go see one more animal and how it affects its ecosystem. Welcome back, guys. We're now here at the Horton House, one of the oldest remaining structures in the state of Georgia. But this area has incredibly sandy soil, and that's oftentimes where you can find animals like this guy right here, a gopher tortoise. Now, unfortunately, we don't have native gopher tortoises here on Jekyll Island, but they are found across Georgia. And in fact, they are Georgia's state reptile. The reason why these animals are so incredibly important is because of how they live their life. In this sandy soil, the gopher tortoises tend to dig deep burrows, and that's where they kind of hide during the evening and also during the cold months of the year. But the reason why they are also a keystone species is because if there's a devastating event that happens to an area like this, such as a wildfire, where do all the other animals go? If they can't fly or run or swim away, oftentimes they have to take shelter underground in the burrows of these animals. So, many species of animal depend on their safety during an event such as a fire because of the home of the gopher tortoise. So again, if we were to lose these wonderful animals, a lot of those other species that live in these areas would not have a place to find shelter. So, keystone species are a huge part of every ecosystem across the planet, and we're very fortunate to have a few of these here in Georgia, and especially along our Georgia coast. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. We look forward to joining you next week when we talk about feeding frenzy. See you guys.